What's up, everyone? Morey here, and today we're taking a look at Sha'carri Richardson's 2161 from a couple years ago. This is a top 10 200 meter of all time for women, and with the U.S. trials just a couple days away, wanted to go ahead and take a look at the 200 meter time that Sha'carri ran again 2 years ago. And the big thing that stands out here, and it's really an interesting concept when looking at this, because going into this, she ended up really accelerating, looked really good when starting off, right? Kept that forward lean, accelerated really well. And when you see the whole race, you can see she ended up running 11.1 in that first 100, which is super impressive when it comes to, I mean, you can see everybody else, but they were running 11.5s. It was what everybody else ran. She was at 11.1. Again, she ended up running 21.6 in the entire race, the 200 meter race, 10th fastest of all time, tied for 10th fastest of all time. It was wind aided, but what happened at the end, the announcers kind of talked about a little bit where they were like saying that she was cramping, she had to kind of get helped off, and just didn't end up doing nearly as well in the semis and the finals. Gabby Thomas ended up winning that, and then Sha'carri Jackson ended up being the 200 meter world champion. Again, Sha'carri ended up being the 100 meter world champion. But when you look at the form, and I'm going to compare this to Noah Lyles here, we can see that really both of them do a great job when they're getting around the curve here and being able to be very upright. And I think for her, she's just able to make that turn very, very easily, very fluidly, at least in this particular race she did. Notice with that inside leg where she's landing, she's a little bit out in front of her body when the foot's hitting the ground, so the foot is out in front of the hips a little bit, but that seemed to help her in being able to control the turn. Again, you can see she's really out in front here. Hard foot strike on the right side, but then a little bit more out in front on the left side. Both sides, I think she ends up getting a good amount of control and force in the ground. Again, we can see with Noah Lyles a similar thing. Big thing to take note of here to me is when we see Noah Lyles and him landing, he's really right up underneath his, like his foot's right up underneath his hip, right? And when we see then like Arion Knighton, when he's turning, like we can see this step, see how far inside he is? Yeah, he's definitely more on the curve and ends up having to turn a lot more. But I think that's something to take note of. Even Kenny Bednarik, he's turning a little bit more here and definitely more inside, but doesn't have to get that far across. I do think that this ends up being hard to be able to make the turn. That's what's difficult with when running the 200, having those more inside lanes, is that curve ends up being a lot more challenging to navigate. But I think Noah Lyles did a great job here, just being able to keep that foot a little bit more underneath. The angle isn't great here. This one looks like he's a little bit more inside, but in general, again, I think he does a good job of being able to keep the foot underneath him. Same thing with Sha'carri here as she's going through. I think she does a really good job. Like this might be the most she goes inside with the foot, but you can still see she's doing a good job keeping that foot up underneath her. And I think that's just important to consider when you're going to be looking to see how you can improve within your own 200. So, I mean, the main reason I like to do these breakdowns is so you can go and watch these top sprinters and see what they're doing to then be able to replicate it and get a better understanding of it. Again, as she's kind of finishing up here, it seems like she was not feeling too well, right? Like here, it seemed like there was a bit of an issue. And then after that, the announcers kind of got into that she was, needed to get helped off and didn't know exactly what was going on. But look at her as she's getting into her top speed. I mean, she's way out in front of everybody here. Gets the foot up and through, toe up and through, hard foot strike as she's finishing. Look at that. Excellent foot strike there. Boom. And we've already seen her foot contact time. I mean, we could look at it here. The left side, again, she's a little bit longer, 4.5. She's off by 5.5. So it's got to be probably 0.08, somewhere in there. 0.07 we've even seen with her. And then she kind of lets up a little bit too, but still runs 21.61 very, very easily. Great extension, great arm action. And one of the things that when you watch her training that I think is awesome and something that has kind of motivated me in my own training of athletes to help them get stronger is just like the upper body focus that they do with like the arm swing and just kind of building up the shoulders, getting the range of motion there. I do think that's really, really important. And I will even feel it myself. Like I'll go and I don't necessarily do the dumbbell stuff as much, but I'll use more bands and just work on like the lats, the shoulder extension, like the pulls, and then get right into some sprints afterwards, and we'll see improvements in my sprinting right away. Even pull-ups, just any type of back exercise, shoulder exercise seems to make it so then I can generate more power. Even a bench press sometimes will help me in being able to generate more power out of the upper body as well as the lower body. Just having that connection there, I think, is really important. Something to consider when you go through your training to be able to prepare for running a little bit faster. Even Noah Lyles, you see all these guys, I mean, none of them look weak. Look at Kenny Bednarek. He's a great example. Noah Lyles, great example, especially now this season. Noah Lyles is looking really big, really strong in his upper body and still running great times. I mean, ran 10 flat, and we'll see what he ends up doing this week, right? This weekend. But point being is, don't negate the upper body just because you are a sprinter, just because you're somebody that is mostly utilizing the lower body. A lot of these guys can get a lot faster or have gotten a lot faster by training more on the upper body, because that connection with the upper body and the core and just the range that you can go through, right? You don't want to end up getting so upper body dominant that you lose the ability to achieve certain ranges within the shoulder. But if you can get more strength in shoulder extension or even in shoulder flexion, that's going to make it so then you could generate more power out of the lower half, and will make it so it's more strength within the core as well. So yeah, I just wanted to go in depth into what Sha'carri, I think, did really well. I think, again, going back into it, that acceleration is really what stands out when it does a great job with like those first 3 to 5 steps and really stays down and gets those knees up and through and generates a good amount of force in the ground and gets the toes into the right position on the front side. She is somebody that's tough to beat. And that ends up being, to me, where the consistency or inconsistency is with her. Sometimes she comes out and she pops up. She's not getting as much force in the ground, and therefore she just doesn't get into that same top speed, doesn't look as clean getting into her top speed. And then there's times where we saw, like last time in the World Championships, is she just has that drive phase. She gets out clean, gets to her top speed, or even when she's won like some of these 4x100 meter races, she's taken on Sharika Jackson, who for a lot of time was the fastest woman, or, you know, no one was really beating her. And Sha'carri has beaten her multiple times now at this point, and is right up there speed wise, which is such a rare thing because they're so different with their height. And like I said, Sharika Jackson in the 200, she has 5 of the top 10 fastest times, and so obviously one of the fastest women in the world as well. Sha'carri Richardson was very impressive with how well she's able to stay up with her, and a lot of it has to do with, again, that acceleration, that knee drive, something that you could work on as well. Those first 5-7 steps, you need to be able to push, you need to stay in that good forward lean, be able to accelerate and really work that foot strike, staying on the front part of the foot makes it so then you could transition well, get to your top speed, which is critical when it comes to running great time. So as always, guys, if you like the information, click that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. If you have questions, comments, recommendations, leave those down below. That's why I'm making this video. It's actually a recommended video. And if you want to check out some of the things we do for athletes to help them in sprinting fast, you could check that in the description down below. We'll talk to you soon.